When there is such a misalignment, what we see are particular behavioural characteristics. There's fatigue during the day, we have difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep, we feel not quite so well, we have difficulty being alert, we have stomach problems like constipation or diarrhoea, and we're very labile in our mood, so we keep changing our mood. Now, when we feel like this, when there is a misalignment of our internal body to the external world, we actually feel pretty rotten. And a prime example of this is jet lag. So many of you would have experienced jet lag, and this is just that misalignment of what is happening inside with our body clock and the external cues. Now, what we know is many shift workers suffer this misalignment between the internal body clock and the outside world. As a consequence, many shift workers have the same behavioural characteristics because they are often chronically sleep deprived and on average get 2 to 4 hours less sleep than they require. They're more likely to be awakened by noises or people, so they spend a little bit more time in light sleep. They're less likely to feel well rested when they wake up. They have stomach problems as well and also suffer mood changes. Now, this is because a lot of shift workers actually don't know how to work with their body clock and with light and with melatonin. And this is the purpose of this webinar. How do I manage the external world with my internal body clock? If we don't do that, there are substantial consequences and there's public costs. So if you've got fatigue and you're working in a public area, that we can incur major accidents, and some of the more high-profile ones are the Exxon Valdez oil spill, the Bhopal mine disaster, and the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. Now, they're all being put down to lack of sleep and happened for these poor workers who haven't been able to manage their sleep well. So they haven't got good performance. They're not thinking well. They've got all the characteristics of sleep deprivation that we've mentioned earlier on. But there's not just public costs, there's also personal costs. If we don't get on top of this issue of getting the sleep that we require and managing our internal body clock, we know that shift work is linked to a lot of personal health issues like gastrointestinal disorders, obesity, heart attacks, type 2 diabetes, strokes, and some hormonal cancers. So it is important that we get on top of it for all sorts of reasons. So how do you do it? So there's a few things we need to recognise. There's a few things we can focus our attention on in order to manage our internal clock, which is all the things that it does that I showed you earlier, while we're working shift. We have to look at work schedules. How are they being managed? We have to look at how do we manage sleep and nap schedules? What's our diet? What are the sleep aids that we should be thinking about? And how do we actually prepare for sleep in a world that we might be trying to get to sleep at 9 o'clock in the morning?